This video will discuss the terms chromatic and diatonic as they pertain to whole steps and half steps. In the context that we're going to use today, they are terms that are used to describe how the interval is spelled. And in this video we are just going to describe half steps, although you can use the same process to describe whole steps as well. A chromatic half step is written on the same staff location and has the same letter name. So a half step from C to C sharp is a chromatic half step. A half step from A to A flat is also a chromatic half step. Notice that they're in the same spot on the staff. They use the same letter name, with one having an accidental to define it in order to get the half step. A diatonic half step is a half step which is written using adjacent staff lines and letter names. So C to D flat is a half step. It is a diatonic half step. And A to G sharp is also a half step. It is a diatonic half step. There, as you might guess, are going to be chromatic and diatonic enharmonic equivalents. If you don't understand excuse me, the term enharmonic, you should go back one video and take a look at that again to hear the discussion of the term enharmonic. So here we are with C to C sharp. C to C sharp is a chromatic spelling of the half step between these two keys. C to D flat is a diatonic spelling of the half step between these two keys. So it's going to sound exactly the same regardless of how you spell it. But once again, as we get further into this, there are going to be times when things need to be spelled chromatically, and many more times when things need to be spelled diatonically and you need to avoid spelling things chromatically. So the note C to C sharp, C to D flat. If you're listening to it, there is no way to tell whether I am thinking of a chromatic half step or a diatonic half step. If you're watching me play it on the keyboard, there is no way to tell whether I have a chromatic or a diatonic half step. But if you're looking at it on the staff, that's where you can tell. This is chromatic, this is diatonic. The following are more examples of chromatic half steps versus diatonic half steps. And you notice that we can use all of the variety of accidentals. E flat to E double flat. Here is E flat to E double flat. Let me mark that. Okay, here's E, E flat, E down 2 half steps to E double flat, E flat, E double flat. That is spelled chromatically. Or you can call it E flat to D. That is spelled diatonically. You will be doing some homework which is requiring you to do exactly this. Take certain intervals, write them as chromatic, rewrite them as diatonic. Be careful when you're doing this. And other exercises as we go on. The area between E and F and between B and C, the two spots on the keyboard where there's no black key, causes trouble over and over again because people make assumptions. So D to E flat is a diatonic half step. But E to F flat is not a half step at all. It is an enharmonic unison. So beware when you're trying to write half steps with enharmonics that you're not making mistakes in these two regions of the keyboard. Other things to be careful of. Chromatic intervals must be written on the same line or space. Diatonic intervals must be written on adjacent lines and spaces. So while E, here's E, and G double flat are going to sound like a half step, they are written as a third. So that is not diatonic or chromatic, that is something else entirely. E to F is a half step, and it is written as a diatonic half step. So be careful of that. Don't write diatonic or chromatic half steps if they're going from a line to a line or a space to a space, because then you're describing some kind of a third.